Between passports, because some rules. Nobody tells you.
Hello, I'm Vinny, and welcome to Between Passports. I believe that when we travel, we don't just see new places, we see ourselves differently. This project is about the life that happens in transit, my life and your life. After living as an immigrant for many years and listening to so many incredible stories, I decided it was time to share them with the world. So grab your bags, let's head out to today's episode. Whether you're at home or in transit, you can follow our journey on all major platforms, from Spotify and Apple to YouTube and Amazon Music. We are also sharing daily moments on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Just search for Between Passports to stay in the loop or visit betweenpassports.com. Thanks for being part of this trip, and see you around. As you know, Between Passports is just getting started. So I reached out to some friends so they could share some stories, and I just wanted to clarify again. This show is about those moments that happen when you move to a new country. Not the big dramatic ones, not the paperwork, not the culture shock 101 stuff. The small ones, the quiet ones, the ones you replay in your head at 2 a.m. wondering, did I do something wrong? Or was the whole situation just wrong? Today's story comes from a friend of mine. She's from Mexico. She's been living in Toronto for about 6 years now, and she gave me full permission to share this. I'm going to call her Gabby, Gabriella. And I need you to stay with me until the end for this one, because the end, it broke my heart a little bit, and I think it might break yours too. It's August in Toronto. Gabby's 24 years old. She just landed and barely knows anyone. She's sharing an apartment with two Canadian roommates, both really nice people. And she's doing that thing that every immigrant does in the first few months. She's watching. She's studying. Every conversation feels like, that test that never got the study guide for. She told me, and I love the way she put this. She said,
I was trying to make friends. I was trying to figure out the rules first. Because if you don't know the rules, you can't even begin to play.
And that is totally true. I completely agree with Gabby on this. So she's in that mode, observing, calibrating, waiting for a moment to actually connect with those people and to her new life. And then one of her roommates, a girl named Jess, knocks on her door. Jessie says,
Hey, we are doing a small thing at a pub on Friday. It's my birthday. Nothing fancy. You should come.
That's it. Super casual. But for Gabby, this is huge. She told me she spent a full hour deciding what to wear. She bought a small gift. She practiced her small talk in the mirror, actual mirror practice, which honestly respect. She was ready. She was so ready. She gets to the pub. She's introduced around, and she's thinking, this is it. This is the moment I start having a real life in Canada. And I know everyone had gone through that. Everyone who is an immigrant, of course. It's just like that moment that you are starting to connect with your new life. So there they are. New faces, cold beer, a birthday. Everything feels just possible for Gabby. And then the evening begins to go exactly as she hoped, until it doesn't.
Enjoying the story? Follow us so you don't miss the next one.
Here's something you need to know about birthday parties in Mexico, and really, most of Latin America. An invitation isn't just an invitation. It's more like a summons to a ceremony. You show up, you stay, you celebrate. And there is one rule, one unspoken, never negotiated, never broken rule. You do not leave before the cake. To leave before the cake is like walking out of a movie before the ending. It's not just rude, it signals that you don't really care, that the birthday person wasn't worth your full evening. The party is a contract, and you honor it by staying. Gabby knew this in her bones. She didn't even have to think about it. So when Mike, a guy she had just met, stands up at 10 p.m., raises his glass and says,
Happy birthday, Jazz. I've got an early meeting tomorrow.
and just gulps his beer, Gabby notices it. She's okay, a little strange, but okay. At 10:15, another person leaves, a girl named Sarah. Gabby is sort of confused now. In Mexico, at 10:15, someone will be asking if they should order more food. I'll get my tacos al pastor, please. And here, two people have already gone home. And at 10:30, another person. 10:45, there are maybe three people left at the table, including Gabby. Here's what's going on through her head, and she told me this almost word for word. She said,
I kept thinking, okay, maybe they all have early starts. Maybe this is just a Canadian thing. But Jazz is still here, and it's her birthday, so I'm not leaving.
she made a decision she was going to see it through. And now I have to stop here for a second, because this is the part of the story where I want to ask you something. If you were Gabby, sitting at the table, watching the room slowly empty, what would you have done? Would you have followed the crowd and slipped out with a smile and a happy birthday? Or would you have stayed? Think about that for a second, because the answer says a lot about where you grew up. Hold that thought. We'll come back to it later. 11 o'clock. The last two guests say their goodbyes. The band starts picking up, and now it's just Gabby and Jess. Two people. A table full of empty glasses. A birthday that feels like it's just quietly dissolved. Gabby looks at Jazz and says,
Hey, are you okay? We could hit another bar. If you want, I'm down.
and Jazz looks at her, kind of touched, and says,
No, I'm good. You really didn't have to stay this long.
Gabby waves it off.
Are you kidding? It's your birthday.
They settle the bill, they walk outside of the bar, and as they say goodnight, Jazz squeezes her arm and says,
It was really nice of you to stay. Most people just do an hour and leave afterwards.
well, Gabby walks to the bus stop, sort of glowing, like genuinely happy. She's thinking,
I did it. I made a real friend. Jazz is going to remember this forever. She's going to tell people Gab stayed until the very end.
she gets on the bus, smiling to herself, and then she looks out of the window while the bus stops at a light. Jazz is on the curb. There is a car pulling up, and Jazz is throwing a suitcase into the trunk? Yeah, a suitcase. Gabby watches from the window as Jess jumps in, laughing, excited, and the car pulls away towards the highway. Gabby later found out that Jess wasn't at home to sleep. Obviously, she was heading to the airport, a surprise weekend trip with her boyfriend, already planned, already packed for the whole time. Gabby had spent 3 hours loyally protecting someone who was just waiting for the party to end so her real night could begin. She wasn't the devoted friend who stayed until the end. She was the roommate who didn't know when to leave. On the bus home, she cried. When Gabby told me this story, she laughed. That specific kind of laugh that only comes after enough time has passed for something humiliating to become almost funny, you know? Almost. She said,
I wish someone had told me. You are going to feel stupid for a while. Not because you are stupid.
and specifically about Gabby, she's brilliant and a great professional and all. But because learning to belong means getting it wrong, not once, not twice, many times. And I've been thinking about that ever since. So we are here to learn. So let's learn together.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
Here's my take on this, and I'll try to keep it short. I was dusting off some of my old sociology books from grad school, and I found that there is this concept in sociology called cultural script. It is basically the invisible instruction manual for how you behave in a given social situation. How long you stay at a party, when to hug, when to shake hands, whether silence between two people is comfortable or awkward. Every culture has these scripts, and you absorb them so early, so deeply, that you don't even know they are there until you are somewhere that runs on a completely different one. Gab's script said, the party is the priority. You honor people by staying. The Canadian script often says, individual schedules are the priority. You honor people by not making them feel obligated. Neither is wrong. They're just different software running on the same human hardware, if I can make this analogy. And the painful part, the part that doesn't show up in any immigration brochure, is that the gap between those two scripts isn't fixed with information. You can read all the articles you want. You can watch all the YouTube videos, but you only really learn a new script by living it, by getting it wrong in real time in front of real people on someone's actual birthday. That's the slow, quiet cost of starting over somewhere new. Not the big dramatic moments, the small ones, the ones where you sit on a bus at midnight watching a suitcase disappear into the dark, wondering if you'll ever fully trust your own instincts again. But here's the thing I keep coming back to. Gabby stayed, not because she misread the situation. Well, okay, partially of that, but mostly because in her world, people stay. That's not a flaw in her programming. That's actually kind of beautiful. Maybe the most interesting question isn't why didn't Gabby know when to leave? Maybe it is what kind of world would it be if more people had Gabby's script? And that's the story for today. Gabby, if you're listening, you stayed. And I think that says everything worth saying about who you are. See you next time.
We are Between Passports. Glad you're here. Share your story at betweenpassports.com.